Top tonight, the Supreme Court allowing Texas's newest congressional map to be used for the 2026 midterms, at least temporarily. This comes after federal judges here in El Paso had blocked that same map earlier this week. Good evening, everyone. I'm Harry Parker. As always, you're watching ARC El Paso. Every weeknight, we break down the issues that matter and we give you the context to understand stories shaping life here in the borderland. So this move from the Supreme Court is a win for Governor Greg Abbott, again, at least for the time being, as the High Court decides whether the map is an unconstitutional gerrymander. In the meantime, I spoke with the head of LULAC just before that ruling came down.
Yeah, that's always a challenge to read this particular Supreme Court. I mean, look, in Texas, these three judges, one that was actually appointed by Donald Trump, obviously sided with us in this particular case. They did see, based on the evidence that we were able to provide them, that this is racial gerrymandering. And so our hope is that the Supreme Court will obviously recognize effectively the same. But we will be ready to argue the case.
Juan Proaño is the CEO of the League of United Latin American Citizens, or LULAC, which sued Texas to block its new congressional maps that gave the GOP 5 new seats in the U.S. House. LULAC accuses Governor Greg Abbott and the legislature of racial gerrymandering, which is prohibited by federal law. Today, Supreme Court Justice Samuel Alito agreed with Texas, halting a previous lower court ruling. LULAC had won its case earlier this week in a federal court here in El Paso, which ruled that Texas had explicitly used racial motives in drawing its new maps. That prompted Texas to file an emergency appeal to the Supreme Court, arguing its map was drawn solely for partisan purposes, which is legal. In its filing, the state argues in part, quote, "This summer, the Texas legislature did what legislatures do, politics. A map that has been gerrymandered to achieve a partisan end can look very similar to a racially gerrymandered map." Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton celebrated the ruling in a tweet, saying in part, quote, "We look forward to continuing to press forward in our case on the merits." In a tweet before the ruling, he had said in part, quote, "Radical left-wing activists are abusing the judicial system to derail the Republican agenda and steal the U.S. House for Democrats."
Well, what comes next in the case is uncertain. SCOTUS can still decide whether or not to take up the case, and from there, whether or not the maps are constitutional. But both sides say they're ready.